Closed captioning provided by Beaufort County.
To another edition of Coastline, and joining us in the studio today is Dean Moss. Now that name may sound familiar to you because Dean formerly was the general manager of the Beaufort-Jasper Water Sewer Authority. He was there 25 years, and I was shocked when I, in talking with him, discovered it's been 10 years since he left that position. Time does fly, doesn't it, Dean?
It sure does. Sure does. Right?
But a person like you is never satisfied to just sit on their laurels, and he is now involved in a couple of different projects. We're going to talk about both of them, but the first is his executive director of the Friends of the Spanish Moss Trail. And tell us a little bit about the Spanish Moss Trail. I know people are familiar with having seen various intersections, but give us an in-depth picture.
It runs, it's a pedestrian bicycle trail, 12 feet wide, made out of concrete, that runs from near Rebo Road in Port Royal all the way out to Clarendon Road out on Grays Hill in Burton. And it's about 10 miles right now of trail. It is very heavily used. We're working with the county right now on counters to kind of get a good feel for the number of people that are on there every day. They've just installed those. It was built starting in about 2011, 2012. The first section opened, which was right in the heart of what we call the heart of the trail, from Depot Road in Beaufort down to Allison Road in Beaufort near the hospital. And since then, we've expanded it a chunk at a time. We work hard as the Friends of the Trail to keep it clean. We've added benches here and there. We've got trash cans where they need to go.
Water fountains.
We've got a lot of wonderful relationships with groups of people who have volunteered to pick up the trail. So you'll see, if you're out there, you'll see signs at intersections say this section of the trail maintained by
such and such
Rotary Club or a church group or someone. They're all wonderful, and they do a great job.
The trail was the old Yemassee to Port Royal trail, which was originally 26-something miles long. Is the plan to go all the way to Yemassee?
No, the plan calls for us to get to the Whale Branch. So we would go on up until we got to Seabrook. There's a county fishing pier right there on where the old bridge was to get across the Whale Branch, and there was a swing bridge there that got taken out. So that the current plan calls for it to end there. I get people all the time that say, "Well, you're going to go on? What are we going to do here?" And we've talked about the idea. I don't think we want to bridge the Whale Branch again, but providing a way to get back out to 21 and use that bridge that's there, modify that to allow the trail to go over and keep working out is always possible. But that's probably going to happen long after my time.
Yeah. As I was coming to the studio this morning, I was on 170, and it just so happened that I got stopped at the Spanish Moss Trail with one of those nice new crossing apparatuses that y'all have installed. And as I allowed the biker to go by, and then it's still blinking, but the rule is that if there's no pedestrian or biker, even if it's still blinking, once you've come to a complete stop, then you can go ahead and proceed. That has been an ideal situation. And then as I was driving over here to the county building, it struck me, how do you get from the North Street area to the Boundary Street area? Is there a connection there? I haven't actually gone on that part of the trail.
The trail comes down from 170, and it pushes right on the old railroad line, runs right straight through to Depot Road. So to move from the trail over to Boundary Street per se, you have to wiggle. I mean, you get off at North Street, and then you kind of work your way up North Street and come over really pretty close to this building. I mean, the quickest way to do it is to swing by the sheriff's department and down the backside.
So you're not actually going on the old trail line that used to be there. Okay, all right.
There's been discussion. The city has discussed making it easier in some cases to reach because when they put in the Boundary Street improvements a couple of years ago,
which are beautiful.
You look at that sidewalk that's on the south side of Boundary Street. It is very wide, so it's designed to accommodate bikes and pedestrians at the same time. And there's been a discussion about how you make those connections so that people can.
And it seems to pick up, I guess, around that cemetery that's across from Outback Steakhouse, and then it goes on this nicely wooded little bridge, and you guys did a spectacular job on that. I remember during the construction phase of the Boundary Street rehab, there was some discussion about how that was all going to look, and I think it got built once and then it got torn down and built a second time.
They didn't build it. They didn't tear it down. They changed the slats in the bridge so you could see through it.
Okay.
The first slats were put up, and it was hard for people to see through. And that wasn't a project of the trail. That was really a project of the city of Beaufort. So I can't claim any good stuff that happened out of that one. But the trail does follow the old railroad line. And I guess the reason I got involved in the first place was Beaufort-Jasper bought that railroad from the state back in about 2008.
Okay.
And there was, and people may remember, there was controversy about whether that line ought to be kept in place, and a dinner train put in to run out to Yemassee from Port Royal. Ultimately, a lot of debate about that. Ultimately, the county decided that a trail was what they wanted to do. So Beaufort-Jasper leased that right-of-way to Beaufort County for about 90 years for $1.
Okay.
So the county really controls the surface of that right-of-way. And in most cases, it's about 100 feet wide. So it's a pretty good-sized chunk of property. And so once I retired, somehow people started looking at me and saying,
"You bought it.
What are you going to do now?
You run it."
So,
that sounds
I worked with the Path Foundation out of Atlanta, which is a trail building organization out of Atlanta, and their people and Beaufort County to put this in. And it was a cooperative effort. Lots of people, city contributed, Port Royal contributed, the hospital contributed, lots of private donations, and great support from one very significant private donor, Jim Kennedy, who is Cox Communication in Atlanta and lives here, has a house here in Beaufort County.
So right now, you've got two major projects that are affiliated with the Spanish Moss Trail. And let's talk about the first one in Port Royal, since we were discussing a few minutes ago about the Spanish Moss Trail crossing on 170. As I understand it, you would like to go ahead and do a similar scenario on Rebo Road at around Pender Brothers area there. Tell us about the three options you're exploring.
Yeah, the master plan for the trail calls for it to run all the way through Port Royal down to the Sands Beach. That's supposed to be mile 0. And so, since that property is all development property now, there's still planning going on about how it works its way through that development. But the bottom line is we've got to get across Rebo Road. And Rebo Road in that area, for anyone that drives it, understands that the traffic coming from the direction of Paris Island particularly is moving fast. You come down off that bridge and you're running along that causeway, and it's not unusual for people to start climbing up toward Port Royal at 50 miles an hour. And the sight lines are not great. So the challenge is, how do you bring that trail across safely? We've looked at 3 options. And the first option, which is probably, in my mind, the ideal option, is to put in a full intersection at that spot near Pender Brothers. So that you come in, you have a full intersection there, traffic stops, and then it moves on.
The thought being that the port of Port Royal is actually intending to build a road on the Port Royal side.
Yep, there's going to be a connection. Plans call for a connection coming out of Port Royal that will come up and tie into Rebo right there at Pender Brothers. Now, until that road goes in, and the Friends of the Trail are not in the road building business, so it's really a function of when the city, town, and the county and the developer and all the players decide that's going to do that. When that road goes in, then the trail can go across. In the meantime, do we wait? Do we just simply say, right now the trail turns and maneuvers its way through Port Royal on that side of Rebo over and comes across at Paris Avenue where the stoplight now is, and we have signs there that tell people how to go. Ultimately, it gets you there, but it's not easy and it's not fun. So, what do we do in the meantime? The second option is to put in a system similar to the one on 170, which is a pedestrian controlled crossing. Stoplights, blinking lights, just like we have at 170.
I think it's actually got an official name.
It's called a HAWK. A HAWK signal, and if you push me for what that HAWK stands for, I'm not going to be able to tell you right now. I got it written down somewhere. The problem with that is that and I'm not sure, we don't know if it's a problem or not, but again, the traffic's moving very fast. And so since it's not a conventional intersection, the concern is that the traffic is not going to pay quite as much attention to it as it would if it were a conventional intersection. So we have proposed that if we're going to do that, we need to put in rumble strips, blinking lights, other kinds of things that warn people that crossing is ahead of them. And we can do that. If we can do those things, we can do that crossing now. And if the road is not there, we'll put in a temporary asphalt trail that'll get us down that right-of-way alignment to Ritter Circle, which is the first place where the street grid, Port Royal street grid, hits that intersection, hits that right-of-way. The third option is a bridge.
Oh.
And
all of a sudden I see dollar signs.
Oh, it's big dollar signs. And it's to cross there, DOT, Department of Transportation, will make us put the bridge 18 feet in the air. And so, which we can do. But
it would have to be a bridge where they actually are going upstairs. Otherwise,
well, they have to have some access to it.
Yeah.
So if you create a bridge for bikes and other people, and you want it to meet the Americans with Disability Act standards, so that people in wheelchairs could use it, or people on skateboards could use it. I mean, you think of all the different things.
You have to have a long
900 feet in either direction.
900 feet. Oh my goodness!
And that creates all kinds of other problems for the property owners, vendors on one side, the landscape company on the other side of the street. All of a sudden, their accesses are confused and blocked.
Yeah, that seems like the least desirable of
I think
options.
everybody, at least all the people that I've been talking to, its principal benefit is it is obviously the safest.
Yeah.
You separate the people, the bikes from the traffic, but the cost, it's $3 million for us to do it, and it just seems to me that we need to figure out one of the other two options.
We've got to take a break here, but just before the break, how about a hybrid of the HAWK system looking to the future of the intersection taking place?
And that would be the plan. In other words, you get the HAWK in, and you'd put in, when you put in the poles for the lights, you'd locate those poles in such a way that they could be, when the intersection came, you wouldn't have to move the poles. Mm-hmm. You'd be structured in such a way that you'd convert things over and you'd have it all done at once.
And then as you're coming down the bridge from Paris Island, you do take a little dip and there's oak trees there. Yep. Perhaps you could have like a flashing light 500 feet ahead saying,
yep.
Warning.
You got to do that.
Okay.
I think.
Let's go ahead and break, and then we're going to come back, finish up talking about the Spanish Moss Trail's second project, which we haven't even started yet. But we're also going to talk about what else you got roped into volunteering into. So We'll be right back.
Sarah Brock, Clerk to Council for Beaufort County Council. Did you know Beaufort County has 29 active boards and commissions? These boards and commissions serve a vital role in Beaufort County and allow citizens like you to get involved with local government and advise your council members on a wide range of issues. Members serve in a variety of capacities, from advising council regarding the selling and purchasing of land, hearing appeals, allocating ATAX monies, advocating for specific organizations, working on stormwater-related issues, zoning issues, design review, historical preservation, you name it. Visit www.beaufortcountysc.gov/council/boards and commissions today to see a list of our active boards and commissions and fill out an application. Sign up today so you can have a hand in making our community even greater than it already is.
And we're back in the studio with Dean Moss, who is the executive director of the Friends of the Spanish Moss Trail. And before the break, Dean, we were talking about the two major projects that you're involved in, and one being the crossing in Port Royal by Pender Brothers. But a second project, which you've already, the Friends of the Spanish Moss Trail has already sunk $60,000 into for engineering studies, is a connection from the Depot Road area to downtown Beaufort, which sounds lovely. Tell us about that.
Well, the original plan, which was about 4 years ago, called for us coming up Depot Road, down Bay Street, and all the way down, essentially right into downtown, right to Charles Street. That would have involved coming along the bluff and eliminating the parking that spaces that lay there along the bluff. And there was great outcry about that, and so after discussion with the town, with the city, we backed off and are just bringing it. The plan would be to bring it to Bladen Street. There's been still more discussion in the city about the best way to do that, but the common point for everyone is that it needs to come up Depot Road. And so we have a design that was done for us by the same folks that have done the trail, the Path Foundation. And during the penny sales tax vote a couple of years ago, there was $375,000 identified in that as for the, quote, Depot Road area. And the city then applied for and received a $200,000 grant from the state to assist with that. So we have $575,000. We are in the final design phase of the project. Engineering is being done, and the permitting is being worked through with DOT. So I would like to think that sometime in the next couple of months, we'll have a permit, and I'd like to think that we'll be able to start construction on this by the end of the summer.
It's unfortunate that you couldn't convince the folks to go all the way down to Charles Street, because it does actually narrow quite a bit. The bay comes in just past Bladen, and it would sure be nice to have a little safer walkway there.
Yeah, well, nobody's given up on everything yet, but it's one of those things that we figured we'd take the victory we could get and worry about the rest of it later.
Sure.
So I think that's the city likes that concept, and I think the city's going to create at some point a citizens committee to kind of look overall at biking and bike routes in Beaufort, which I think would be a really good idea.
Are you going to have to acquire anything by eminent domain?
No.
Great.
I don't believe this. The right-of-way along Depot Road, there's 22 feet of right-of-way between the edge of pavement and the private property. So we don't have to acquire, don't have to take anybody's property. It's just going to be along that edge, going to be 10 feet wide, concrete path, which will take you right up to the intersection between Depot and Rebo. That crossing is tricky because of the way the traffic moves at that intersection. So we're going to have to take some care in terms of how that's marked, how it's controlled and regulated, and that's some of the stuff that's being worked out with DOT.
But at least you've already got an intersection with a light there, so it seems like the ideal would be to push a button.
Already a pedestrian button there to use.
Oh, there is. Okay.
So Again, we hope to get this thing underway sometime late this summer. And the city, again, will be pushing forward on kind of the general planning piece here sometime probably later this year to look at how we get the rest of the way. So it's something's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that you've sunk $60,000 into engineering studies, and you mentioned earlier that you've got a very nice friend in the retired owner or manager of Cox Cable from Atlanta, and but your name is Friends of the Spanish Moss Trail, and if people would like to come alongside and help out either by volunteering some time or some finances, how can they do that?
We have a website, SpanishMossTrail.org, and all of our trailheads have little signs that say what you can do, but you can go on that website and find it. We have an app which you can get on the Google apps and on the other app providers for free, which gives you all kinds of information about the trail. So
nice.
And
so as you're
all you need to do really for us is to connect to us with if you just look us up with their SpanishMossTrail.org, connect with us, and we get your email address. We'll send you all kinds of notices and information and newsletters and other kinds of things to tell you what we're doing here.
Okay. So with that app, are you able to just see landmarks as you're going up and down the trail?
You can. It tells you all kinds of things, and it also enables us, interestingly, to track the people who research it. And last year, and actually in 2019 was a bigger year for this because people were traveling. We had folks from all over the country and about 10 or 15 foreign countries who researched that app to see what it was.
Cool.
We were also designated by Outside Magazine as one of the 10 top pedestrian trails in the country.
Nice.
Right up there with with the High Line in New York and the Waterside Trail in Chicago and others. So
beautiful.
We've received some notoriety, in this little town, and it is increasingly the kind of thing that people, at least in 2019, were traveling to do. People would, come to ride trails like this, and they go all over the place to do it. So,
well, I can see the activity that's going on there, and it's spectacular. I mean, and you've now got people counters.
We have counters that will tell us bikes and people, and
All right.
So
I mentioned at the beginning of the interview that you retired from the Beaufort-Jasper Water Sewer Authority as general manager 10 years ago, and people like you are the type that are just never happy settling down, and usually one volunteer job is sufficient, but not for you. You are now also the involved with the Port Royal Sound Foundation, and until you told me what that was, I hadn't made the connection. But as you're crossing the Lemon Island Bridge, off to the right, there's been a lot of neat activity over the last few years. Tell us all about the Port Royal Sound Foundation, what you do with them, and what it's all about.
Thanks, Rick. I'm chairman of the board of the Port Royal Sound Foundation, and the foundation was created actually kind of as an outgrowth or spin-off of Friends of the River, which was created back in the late 1990s. And our mission is the preservation of Port Royal Sound for the economic, social, and cultural health of this community. The Port Royal Sound is one of the most interesting and unique and pristine bodies of water left on the coast of the United States. It is unique in that it gets virtually no freshwater inflow. So that makes it different than, say, Charleston Harbor or North Inlet in Georgetown. No freshwater inflow. So that means that you will find saltwater species 25 miles inland, right on up to 95. And it is pristine. If you ride and get in a boat and head out and go on up that direction, you're not going to see anything. It's just trees and marsh and people and no people, animals. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it is one of the premier nurseries for aquatic species, game fish, etc. on the East Coast. And we're finding out more about it. So our mission, we have three pieces to our mission. One is education, one is research, and one is conservation. For our education mission, we have the Port Royal Sound Maritime Center, which is a museum and aquarium, free to visit. It is one of those remarkable little spots you're going to find in Beaufort County. And we have, I was out there yesterday, and there were 25 or 30 people there when I was there, and my staff told me that we'd had 80 people there.
Wow.
Just that day. It is, we are beginning, we've really worked so far on conservation. We're now beginning our work pushing toward research. We have a strong relationship that's growing all the time with the University of South Carolina, Beaufort, and their Marine Sciences Department. We have a grant to one of their professors right now who is working on water quality monitoring for us in the Sound.
And I've seen other activities there as well. Do you have a fish market there?
There's a little seafood market that sits right there at our gate on our property. We don't own that. We lease that to a great woman that does that. And
then I've seen opportunities where it looks like you've got outside tents that pop up periodically.
Yeah, we have, and until COVID, obviously, we had an annual event there every October, November, called Night on the Sound with speakers. We've had a number of really interesting people come and talk, nationally recognized ocean experts and those kinds of things. And we'll be doing that again this year, God willing.
Well, I was going to say, God willing, we're nearing the end of this pandemic, and things are looking up. I know as we speak, 40% of Beaufort County has been immunized and vaccinated, and so just pray that it keeps flowing in that direction. We're completely out of time, Dean. I thank you so much for not only joining us, but your involvement with the Friends of the Spanish Moss Trail, as well as the Port Royal Sound Foundation. Can't keep a good man down.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. And I encourage everybody that's watching, if you haven't been on the trail, go. And if you haven't been out to the Maritime Center to take a look at it, do that too. So,
all right.
Thanks for
the opportunity. Do you know
opportunity.
off the top of your head the Maritime Center website?
PortRoyalSoundFoundation.org.
Okay, very good. That's another edition of Coastline. We thank you for joining us. We hope you'll come back next month when we'll have another great guest.